out that it is Christ's righteousness that justifies us, they say, the Eastern Orthodox Church says, with all of its authority, says, on the contrary, we rather believe that it is not the correlative of faith. In other words, the correlative of faith is what faith is trusting in. It's what's relative to the faith. So when we trust in Christ, we're not justified by our faith. We're justified by what faith receives. Faith receives the righteousness of Christ. And so they say, no, 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 no. We rather believe it is not the correlative of faith, but the faith which is in us justifies us through works. In other words, they have a faith in faith. That's decisionism. So they say the faith which is in us justifies through works with Christ. So to them, it's the addition of works together with believing the right doctrine that is justifying. In other words, it's not Christ that justifies. And they define faith very clearly, what they mean by faith. They give a definition. They say that by faith, in Decree 9, by faith, we mean the right notion, just the right idea. That's what they mean by faith. By faith, we mean the right notion that is in us concerning God and divine things, which, working by love, that is to say, by keeping the divine commandments, justifies us with Christ. In other words, they explicitly define that it is your own mental ideas plus your works that justify you before Christ. It's not that Christ saves you and gives and donates to you his righteousness and covers you with his blood. It's no, he's just essentially just, here's a true doctrine, you better believe it and act right. And that's how they define justification in a universally authoritative council. So I want to, discourage you from going in the other direction. The EO has a very false gospel.